thinking about taking the stone over there to sit there. But no, the lake is melting. The lake is melting. Look at this. It's water. Do you see this? Hello my loves and welcome to this rather unusual vlog, but there's a reason to that. Some of you might already know that I have been to Germany for most parts of January, and therefore my January was also rather unusual. So for this vlog I chose a little bit of a different storytelling method. So now I invite you to be here with me and listen and of course watch as I share with you the story of when I flew back to my home country, when I flew back to old memories, to people I love, when I tell you the story of a lost soul back in Germany.
She's waiting for the hummingbirds to fly by, sitting peacefully in the morning light.
January was a pure roller coaster of emotions. For the first time since May 2024, when I left Germany, my home country, for good, to move to the north of Sweden, I went back to Germany in this January, in these past 2 weeks. The days leading up to the trip were extremely stressful, much more stressful than I had anticipated. The travel preparations were extremely demanding because of some things that simply went wrong, and I couldn't help myself but expect and anticipate the worst weather, the muddy, wet, cold weather of Germany, the nerve-wracking traffic, and the stress and this heaviness that always was following me when I was back in Germany. I was super anxious and I was completely on edge just thinking about it. But I enjoyed this last walk in nature. It's so nice. Ah, it's so nice. I love it, really. I love it. Ah, I have to soak this in before I go to the German winter with no snow and rain and wetness, because this is why I moved to Sweden. This is the exact reason why I came here, to have real winters. My safe haven during this time in Germany, and especially when I arrived, was my dear friend Livia with her sweet little dog, who picked me up from the airport.
And we are in the German Stau.
And brought me to her home, which was a gift of pure quiet and peace for a moment. I was surrounded by this at least slice of nature in the suburbs of Berlin. But of course, the weather didn't disappoint me. It turned out exactly as I expected. It was super cold, but not in a good way. It was super muddy and wet, and we had snow, which made me happy for a second. But yeah, it was like this. But the feeling that I had when I walked those streets and forests that I once called my home, it was indescribable. It felt so good knowing where I was, knowing where everything was, knowing how everything works. And at the same time, it felt like a fake, like a luring wrong feeling, luring me back into this old life with this false sense of security. It was kind of hard and relieving at the same time. I wanted to stay, but also ran away simultaneously. It was all there. In the days that followed after, I finally arrived. Like, my whole soul also arrived, even though my body already had been there, as I spent this weekend with my women's circle. It was a time filled with love, peace, and stillness. A time that reminded me of a very simple truth that I hold very dear. That is that love is the answer to every question on this earth. Feeling the cold grass under my feet, as I haven't felt grass under my feet since September, I guess, was like a retreat for my soul. We had a sauna, we loved, we danced, we cried just as good as we laughed. We shared rituals and we nourished our bodies, souls, spirits by eating really good food and just being ourselves and being together. It was, as always, such a blessing that I will always carry with me. And then came Berlin.
Einsteigen bitte.
The starkest, strongest contrast ever imaginable. It was loud noises everywhere, hundreds of people wherever you go, thousands of lights, traffic noises, no sky in sight. It was simply the complete opposite of the quiet and still life that I had built for myself in the past few months here in the north of Sweden. I mean, it is simply mind-blowing to think that in the agglomeration of Berlin, that means in the center and the surroundings, there live 5 million people on 3,700 square kilometers. If you compare that to Norrland, the area in Sweden where I live now, which contains several counties, but is like that part of Sweden where I am, we have, even if you count a few moose as people, we have like 1 million people on 220,000 square kilometers. That is 5 people per square kilometer. Five people per square kilometer in Norrland versus 1,290 people per square kilometer in Berlin. But still, even in Berlin's chaos, and I lived in the center of Berlin during my time there with my one and only love. I had moments of quiet, peace, and calm, and she organized a beautiful walk in nature where I saw birds that are bigger than jays, which are the only, like we have some birds, but jays are like the biggest birds that I have seen for a few months now. And spending time in nature there reminded me again that nature is always the space where you find peace, that nature always heals. It was so good for me to be there. She also organized that we can spend some creative time together, and I painted a food bowl, which I could now bring home, which will always remind me of my time there, and that is just beautiful. After my time in the center of Berlin, I again braced myself for the stressful moment of picking up a rental car in the center of Berlin and having to drive it on the German Autobahn to Saxony, to where my family lives. The car was so good, I even managed to drive pretty fast with it. So I'm quite proud of myself. Once I arrived there, I was greeted with something that I actually didn't expect, which was a super warm, nourishing, just warming sunlight in the middle of January. Having a moment where I'm really proud of myself right now, because I am walking the street where I used to take some pictures and film, like really when I was 12 or 13 or something. And I also came here a lot of times when I had a lot of struggles, and I walked here with Frida and with Grimly, and also, I think just a few days in May last year before we moved to Sweden. And I was here so many times when I was so insecure about myself, my path, where I am supposed to go, what I am supposed to do. And now I am walking here as a visitor, and with that confidence of, well, I will go back home where I feel really safe and really like myself, where I see my future, where I am really in tune with nature and with me. And I am having a moment of being just super proud of myself because I made this. It's like walking with all those past versions of me on this road and to be like, yeah, we did it. We did it. I learned how to ride a bike over there, and I fell hard. But yeah, this is one of the areas I grew up. I soaked up every little piece of peace. I soaked every bird song. I soaked every sun ray. Just knowing that I had missed these things. Honestly, I have missed those because we haven't had warming sun since the end of September, maybe October. So that was a true blessing. But still, being there, I knew with every moment that I don't belong there anymore. I had to face a pretty difficult truth there. I had to face the truth that I have not fully arrived here in Sweden, that I didn't have fully arrived before I went to Germany, and that I didn't have left Germany quite completely until that point. I didn't quite leave and let go of my old habits. I couldn't let go of my friends, and I could never. I couldn't really let go of this feeling of security that Germany gave me simply by being the place I was born in. People speak my language there. I know the rules there. So of course it gives me a sense of security. And I haven't fully arrived in Sweden yet because I still barely speak the language and I barely know the rules and how everything is going here. So I had to acknowledge that I am basically standing between doors, like in the middle of a doorway. So with one foot I am standing in this new life, a blank canvas, if you want to call it that way, an empty book, a place full of possibilities. And with one foot I stand in my old life. And I had to acknowledge that I don't quite know who I am at the moment. I had this fear back in 2023, and now I am facing that exact moment that I was afraid of, that I don't know who I am once I am in Sweden. So I guess this is one more goal for 2025, to find out who am I actually? Being in Germany always feels like an act of endurance. I savor the moments with the people I love, the laughter, the love, the shared love, the connection, the good conversations. But Germany is always super heavy on me. Its energy feels super heavy. It drains me. It costs me so much energy to be there. And it always feels like there is anger and frustration luring around the corner, just waiting to be spilled on you, even though you have nothing to do with it. People in Germany are not the most happy people on this earth, I would say. But still, I cried a lot. I let a lot of emotions flow. I laughed a lot. And I felt deeply loved throughout all the time. And when the plane landed back in Sweden, in Östersund, and I stepped foot on the snow-covered ground, I cried again. But this time, tears of relief, tears of pure happiness, simply embracing the feeling of being home. This time in Germany taught me two very important and profound truths. The first one is that I am deeply loved by many, many very, very wonderful people. And the second one is that I made the absolute right choice by moving into the north of Sweden. I am home. I don't really know who I am right now, and I miss my tribe a lot. And I am completely fine with every single one of these three truths coexisting at the moment. And with that, I thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for being here with me and for going through this with me once more. I hope you can take something home with you from this video. And I am so looking forward seeing you again in the next vlog in February, hopefully filled with quiet snow and beautiful weather. See you soon, my loves. Bye. I seriously can't believe how high the sun is right now. It's the 25th of January right now, and I left on the 9th of January. I left for Germany, and now it's the end of January and the sun is so high, it's reaching above the treetops. It has a slight warmth even on the face. I am, how do you say, startled? In shock. She's so high. That's so crazy. Really, the dark season of winter is not that horribly long. It was just from the beginning of December, now until the end of January, and now we have normal sunlight. Look at her. There. Oh my god. That's crazy. Wow.